Chapter 1 The Blade and the King. Kill him before sunrise, they said. If he looks you in the eye, don't look back, and whatever you do, Elira bleed. The halls of the glass palace were colder than the wind outside. Elira's boats didn't make a sound as she walked, knives strapped to her thighs, poison tucked beneath her tongue. She'd trained for this moment since she was 10, since the Withered King raised her village, since they found her sobbing beside the corpses and said, "We can turn your grief into a weapon." Now, the weapon walked. At the end of the corridor stood a door made of black steel, etched with symbols long forbidden, God's language, cracked and bleeding. The two guards flanking it stared straight ahead, masked and still. "Elira Vale," she said clearly. One of them tilted his head. "You're early." She smiled. "I like to surprise my enemies." They didn't move. Then the door creaked open on its own. She stepped through without flinching. The throne room was nothing like she imagined. No gold, no banners, no guards, just stone and silence, and a man sitting alone at the top of the stairs. One leg draped lazily over the side of his throne, the Withered King. Elira had seen sketches, crude drawings, on rebellion parchment, but none had captured the stillness of him, the sheer gravity in his gaze. His white hair hung loose to his shoulders, a single black ring coiled around his finger like smoke. Silver eyes gleamed like frostbitten stars. He looked bored. "You're late," he said, voice smooth as cut obsidian. "I was told I was early." He arched a brow. "You were told wrong." Elira stepped forward, fingers twitching toward the blade beneath her cloak. "Maelrik of the Endless Reign. Amid Plea. King of Ash. Lord of the Hollow Throne." He smirked. "Reciting my titles won't kill me." "No," she agreed. "But this might." She lunged. The blade flashed. He didn't move. Metal met skin and stopped. Not from armor, not from magic, from pain. Elira screamed as fire tore through, her veins dropping the knife. Her hand was glowing, so was his. Between them, light pulsed like a second heartbeat. The mark. No, 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 this wasn't possible. She was supposed to be the blade, the one the gods whispered about. The one who could end him, but the prophecy had warned. If you bleed together, fate chooses. They had, and it had. The king rose slow and graceful like a god stretching after sleep. "Well," he murmured, silver eyes glowing now, "it seems the gods have a new joke." Elira stumbled back, breath caught in her throat. He descended the stairs step by step until he stood in front of her. His hand reached for her cheek, and she flinched but didn't move. He whispered, "You're mine now, little blade, and I don't share." Chapter 2 The Bond Burns Both Ways. "Kill him," they said. But no one said what would happen if he touched her. Elira wanted to run. Her training screamed at her to move, to draw blood, to finish what she started, but her body refused. The bond held her in place. It wasn't a chain. It wasn't a cage. It was worse. It was familiar, a warmth curling in her ribs, a second heartbeat pulsing beneath her own. Every breath the king took felt like a whisper against her skin. "I'm not yours," she spat, eyes burning. The withered King Maelrik simply tilted his head. Strange. The god seemed to disagree. He turned his palm upward. The mark shimmered where her blade had grazed him, a pale blue sigil spiraling outward, alive with magic older than kingdoms. She looked down. The same sigil had bloomed across her collarbone, thrumming like a bruise. "Remove it," she demanded. "Undo it. You're cursed. You've cursed me." His laugh was soft, almost pitying. "If I could break a godbond, girl, do you think I'd still be alive?" That stopped her. Alive. He wasn't supposed to be, the rebellion said. His immortality was broken. Fading. That he was withering. That she could kill him if she was fast, if she struck true. But now she saw the truth. This man, this creature before her, he wasn't dying, he was waiting, waiting for her. "Take me to the dungeons," she said, forcing her voice steady. "Do what you want, but the moment I find a way to sever this bond, I'll put a blade in your throat." Maelrik stepped closer. Too close. Elira didn't back away. Good, let him see the fire. Instead, he reached out and ran one gloved finger along her jawline. Her knees nearly buckled. The mark flared between them, blue and gold, heat and cold, opposites colliding. "You think this was my choice? You think I wanted a child rebel with fury in her bones and death in her eyes?" She slapped his hand away. "Then stay out of my dreams, King." His gaze darkened. "You dream of me already." "No," she lied. He smiled. Slow, sharp, you will. Later they threw her in a tower cell lined with stone etched in sigils, magic warding, no escape. She sat on the floor, knees pulled to her chest, staring at the mark that now bound her to the monster she was meant to kill. In the distance she felt him, like a shadow in her chest, like smoke curling behind her eyes, not watching, not speaking, just there. And when sleep finally came, it wasn't her own thoughts she dreamed. It was his, a battlefield, a throne of corpses, a woman in gold burning in his arms, whispering, "It's not her fault. Love her, even if it destroys you." Elira woke screaming. And in the blackness of her cell far below the throne, a voice drifted across the bond, "Sleep well, little blade." Chapter 3. He bleeds in silence. You were made to kill him, they said. But no one said what to do if he started protecting you instead. Elira didn't sleep the next night. She couldn't. Every time her eyes closed, his dreams seeped in. Fire, blood. A woman who wore her face but wasn't her. And a throne that kept taking from him. Piece by piece, so she stayed awake, counted the cracks in the ceiling, recited the names of every person he'd ever killed that the rebellion had given her. Names like curses, like prayers. But at dawn, the door opened. And he came for her. Maelrik didn't wear his crown. He wore black, plain, soft velvet over a frame that should have looked tired but didn't. He wasn't a king today. He was something quieter, more dangerous. "Come," he said. She didn't move. "If this is the part where you parade me around like a pet, I'd rather rot." His mouth twitched. "If you rot, so do I." Bonded. "Remember, then unbond me." A sigh. "Still working on that. Until then, breakfast." Her stomach growled before she could stop it. He smirked. "I'll take that as consent." The table was set for two. That unsettled her more than any dungeon cell. 2 chairs, 2 cups, no chains, no guards, just fresh bread, lavender tea, and the King of Ash slicing an orange like a mortal man. "I don't eat with murderers," she said. Maelrik arched a brow. "Then eat with a fellow prisoner." "I didn't ask for this bond either." "You created this bond." He looked up, and for the first time she saw it, regret. "I tried to kill you," she said, searching for anger. "Why aren't you angry?" "Because I've killed hundreds who tried. You're the first who got close enough to actually matter." Her pulse jumped. "Don't let him in. Don't let him twist this. You're trying to manipulate me." "No," he said quietly. "I'm trying to warn you about what." He stood, stepping close enough that their marks pulsed again. "That bond on your skin. It's not just a mark, Elira. It's a lock." She stiffened. He leaned in. "And if you die, I die too." That night she lay on the stone floor of her tower, cell mind spinning. She'd imagined this mission ending in fire, in blood, in victory. But she hadn't imagined this, hadn't imagined being tethered to the most powerful man in the realm, a man who, for all his shadows, didn't lie, a bond that could kill both of them, a prophecy twisted, and a warning: they'll come for you. You're rebels, my enemies, and when they do, I'll burn the world before I let them touch you, somewhere deep in the palace. Maelrik pressed a hand to his chest, where the bond flared. He could feel her heartbeat now. A soft echo inside his own. Gods help them both. Because he'd tasted her rage, but worse, he'd tasted her grief, and he remembered what it had done to him. Chapter 4. The knife between us. Some monsters are made. Others are kissed on the forehead by fate and told, break everything. There are 1,027 ways to kill a man. Elira had memorized every one of them, but none of them worked when the man was tethered to your soul. The guards took her to the training yard. That alone was strange. Rebels didn't get training time, but when she stepped out into the frost-laced air and saw him standing at the center of the arena, sleeves rolled, twin blades at his side, she understood. This wasn't a lesson, it was a test. I won't spar with you, she said flatly. Maelrik tossed her a blade. She caught it out of reflex. That's fine, he said, unsheathing his own. You can try to kill me instead. The steel was light in her hand, perfectly balanced. Her assassin's instincts itched. You said if I die, you die. I did. Then why tempt fate? He smiled, slow and maddening. Because you need to understand something, Elira. You don't win wars by avoiding the knife. You win them by knowing when to bleed. And then he moved. Gods, he was fast. Steel sang against steel. Sparks bloomed, her wrist throbbed, her lungs burned. But she didn't stop, couldn't. She spun, struck, ducked. kicked, a blur of fury and instinct and grief. He didn't fight like a king, he fought like a weapon with no sheath. 100 moves in, he disarmed, her blade at her throat, and yet, he stepped back. Unmarked, unshaken. "You're holding back," he said quietly. "You're imagining things." I felt it. His hand drifted to his chest. "You wanted to hurt me, but not kill me." Elira's jaw clenched. "You don't get to speak for my choices." "No," he said, voice soft. "But I feel them, everyone. The bond doesn't lie." Elira. She stormed back to her tower after fuming, ashamed, afraid not of him, but of herself. Because when his blade was at her throat, when he looked at her like that, she didn't want to kill him. She wanted to understand him, and that was so much worse. That night she felt him in her dreams again. But this time she wasn't just a ghost drifting through his memories. She was there, with him, sitting beside a fire, his head bowed, his voice a whisper. "They told me the bond would save the kingdom. They never said it would bind me to someone who could destroy me with a look." She reached out in the dream and touched his hand. She meant to burn him. But he flinched like he was the one already on fire. Elira woke with tears on her cheeks, and a question she couldn't stop replaying: if we are meant to destroy each other, why does part of me want to save him? Chapter 5. The assassin wore her face. Sometimes the sharpest blade isn't the one in your hand, it's the truth someone slips beneath your skin. She woke to silence, which was strange. Palace mornings were filled with clanging bells, soldiers shouting, maids whispering gossip like war plans. But this morning, not even the birds dared speak. Something was wrong. The door to her chamber was unlocked. Even stranger. Elira pushed it open, every sense sharp. Tension coiled beneath her ribs. No guards, no servants. Just one thing, a folded scrap of parchment on the floor. She hesitated before picking it up. The ink was smeared like it had been. Written in blood or haste or both. "Don't trust the king, don't trust the bond. You are not the first." Her breath caught. She flipped the paper, but there was nothing else. No name, no signature, just a symbol on the back, a black crescent moon pierced by a dagger. By the time she reached the corridor, she was already calculating exits, but it was too late, because when she turned the corner she saw herself, or rather someone wearing her face, hair tied back the same dagger strapped to her thigh, the same rebel mark on her wrist. The imposter lunged. Elira ducked just in time. Steel bit into the wall behind her. She rolled, grabbed a fallen staff, and swung upward. The imposter caught it and smiled. "You were never supposed to last this long." They fought like mirror images. Because that's what they were. Every move Elira had learned, her twin knew too. Every feint, every broken rhythm. But the girl wasn't here to win, she was here to end her. "You're a liability now," the assassin hissed. "Elira's dead. I'm cleaning up the mess." That's when the pieces clicked. The rebellion hadn't sent Elira to bond the king. They'd sent others before her, and every one of them had failed, until now. A blade nicked her cheek. Warm blood bloomed, but before the final strike could come, a roar shattered the air. Flames. Real ones. Maelrik appeared from nowhere, fire curling down his arms like serpents. The assassin tried to flee. She didn't make it 3 steps before Maelrik slammed her into the wall with a flick of his hand. Stone cracked. The scent of burning flesh followed. He didn't speak, didn't blink. Just stared at Elira, eyes alight with something wild. "You're hurt. I'm fine." "You're not." His voice was low. I felt it. She opened her mouth to argue, but the moment she stepped toward him, her knees buckled and he caught her. Later, in the infirmary, she stared at the assassin's corpse. The resemblance was uncanny, too uncanny. She was grown, Maelrik said, voice cold. "Grown." He nodded. "Alchemically shaped, trained from birth to mirror you. Same face, same blood." Her stomach turned. "So I'm replaceable?" "No," he said softly. "You're dangerous." She looked up sharply to who. He didn't answer, just handed her the parchment she'd dropped earlier. "I know that mark," he said. "That's not the rebellion. Then who is it?" Maelrik met her eyes. "The ones who built the bond." Chapter 6. The memory that wasn't mine. If the bond was forged by fate, then fate is crueler than any god I've ever cursed. The girl who looked like Elira was burned to ash by dawn. No ceremony, no burial. Just fire and silence and a name that never existed. Maelrik watched the flames with clenched fists. Elira watched him. "Did you know?" she asked, voice low. He didn't look at her, no, but you knew someone would come. I always know when death is near. It hums in my bones. She didn't press further. Because in that moment something shifted inside her, a sharp cracking sound, like glass under pressure. Her knees buckled and the world around her bled away. It wasn't a vision, not the kind she was used to. This one felt real, too real. The stone beneath her knees was cold. Her hands were small. Her voice was not her own. "Please, father, don't do this." The man towering above her had Maelrik's eyes, but older, harder, infinitely colder. "You were born for this. The bond is your destiny. I don't want it. You don't get to want." And then a blade, a vial, a brand of light seared into her chest. Pain bloomed like wildfire. And then she woke. Elira gasped, clawing at her own skin. The mark wasn't there, but her heart screamed as if it had been burned. Maelrik was at her side in seconds. "I saw something," she breathed. He stilled. "What you?" "As a boy, and your father. He branded you, said the bond was your destiny." He stared at her like she just said the moon had swallowed the sun, that memory. He whispered, "That's not yours, no, it's yours." Silence stretched between them. "Then that's not possible. No one's ever." She gripped his arm. "Then explain it, because I felt it. I felt your pain like it was mine." He didn't answer, didn't need to. Because that's when it hit her, the bond was deepening. Later that night, Elira sat alone in the library, one of the few places in the palace they hadn't locked her out of. She found the symbol again. The crescent moon. The dagger. She traced it onto a blank page. And then, beneath it, wrote the words that had haunted her since that memory. "You are not the first, but I might be the last." Somewhere deep in the palace, behind a wall of glass and runes, a man watched her through a scrying mirror. He smiled. "She's remembering," he murmured. A robed woman beside him bowed. "Shall we intervene?" He shook his head. "Not yet. Let the bond deepen. Let them believe their unraveling fate." He turned away. "The truth will break them soon enough." Chapter 7. Whispers behind the walls. Some secrets aren't meant to be found, others refuse to stay hidden. The palace was a labyrinth of shadows and silence. Each corridor seemed to swallow her footsteps, leaving only a faint echo behind. Elira's fingers trailed the cold stone as she moved, guided by a restless whisper in her mind. Something more than memory, something like a call. The hidden door revealed itself, as if by magic. At first it was just a subtle seam in the wall, a fine line that hadn't been there before. She pressed her palm against the cold surface, and the stone trembled under her touch. A soft click. The door slid open. Beyond it lay a room filled with dust and forgotten history. Ancient scrolls lined the shelves, their ink faded but still legible. A desk held a leather-bound journal, cracked with age. Elira hesitated, then opened it. The first words made her blood run cold. "To the one who bears the bond. Know this. The past is not your enemy but your guide." The journal told stories of those who came before, bonded warriors who fought and died for the kingdom. Some were heroes, some were villains. All were trapped in a cycle of pain and sacrifice. One entry caught her eye. "Maelrik is not who he seems. He guards the truth, but he is also its prisoner." Her breath hitched. Could it be true? Was the man who stood beside her, fierce and wild, also bound by chains she couldn't see? A sudden noise snapped her back. Footsteps, soft, deliberate. She barely had time to hide behind a tapestry before the shadow appeared. Maelrik. His eyes scanned the room. He knew. "Elira," he said softly, voice tinged with regret. "Why didn't you tell me about this place?" She stepped from her hiding spot, heart pounding. "There's so much I don't understand," he sighed. "Neither do I, but together, maybe we can." As they stood side by side, the weight of the past pressing down, Elira felt something shift. The bond was no longer a curse, it was a key. And they were just beginning to unlock its secrets. Chapter 8. The Council of Shadows. In the darkest rooms, truths whisper louder than lies. The air was heavy in the chamber beneath the palace, a secret place where the light never touched. Elira and Maelrik descended narrow, winding stairs, the walls closing in like a tomb. At the bottom, a circle of figures awaited them. Faces shrouded in hoods, voices low but filled with power. "Welcome, bond-bearers," one spoke, voice like gravel and silk. "We have watched you." Elira's heart raced. Who were these people? Maelrik stepped forward, voice steady. We seek answers. The bond binds us. But it blinds us too. A woman stepped forward, pulling back her hood. Her eyes glowed faintly, silver and sharp. I am Elira. We are the Council of Shadows, guardians of the bond's true purpose. Elira swallowed. So this bond, she began, it's not just a curse or a weapon. No, Elira said softly. It is a legacy, and a key to power no one has yet fully grasped. Another figure, a man, spoke. The bond connects you to a source older than the kingdom itself, magic born before memory. Elira felt a shiver. Then what of the assassins? The copies? The ones who tried to kill me? Lysara's eyes darkened. They serve a rival, faction, those who want the bond's power for themselves. They would see the kingdom fall. Maelrik's jaw clenched. And the mark I carry, the one I branded myself with. Lysara nodded slowly. It binds you to the bond's source. You and Elira are tied together by fate, and by magic that can change everything. Elira's mind spun, change everything, but at what cost? A sharp noise cut through the room. The chamber doors slammed shut, the council froze. A voice hissed from the shadows, fools. The time for secrets is over. Elira's eyes met Maelrik's. We're not just pawns, she whispered. We're players. Chapter 9, Betrayal in the Dark. Trust is a blade that cuts both ways. Sometimes it's your salvation, sometimes your death. The chamber plunged into darkness. A cold wind swept through, carrying whispers that tasted like poison. Elira's heart pounded as the hooded figures turned toward the voice. A figure stepped forward, tall, cloaked in shadow, eyes glinting like shards of ice. Lysara, the voice spat. You've hidden too much. The silver-eyed woman's face hardened. Jareth, you betray the council's sacred trust. Jareth laughed, cruel and low. Sacred trust. You mean the lies we tell ourselves to feel safe, the secrets we bury to keep power. The others shifted uneasily. Maelrik moved beside Elira, his hand brushing hers, a silent anchor. Jareth's gaze locked onto Elira. You don't belong here. You're a mistake. A failure of the bond. Elira's blood boiled. I'm no mistake, the council tensed without warning. Jareth raised a hand. Dark magic crackled like thunder, filling the chamber with a terrible energy. Lysara shouted, protect the bond-bearers. Shadows erupted, twisting into serpents of black smoke that lunged at Elira and Maelrik. They fought side by side, steel and magic weaving through the chaos. Elira's dagger flashed, cutting through the smoke. Maelrik's fire roared, burning away the darkness. But Jareth was relentless. He snarled, you cannot escape fate. Elira met his gaze, fierce. Fate isn't written by traitors. With a surge of strength, she plunged her dagger into Jareth's chest. A scream tore through the chamber, half rage, half agony. Jareth staggered, then collapsed, the darkness dissipating. The council was silent. Lysara's eyes flicked to Elira, respect mingled with fear. You have changed everything. Maelrik squeezed her hand. We're just getting started outside the chamber. The palace held its breath, because the bond was no longer just a legacy. It was a war. Chapter 10, Awakening the Flame. Sometimes the fiercest battles are fought within. The battle in the chamber had ended, but the storm inside Elira was just beginning. She sat by the window of her chamber, fingers trembling as she stared at the scar on her palm, the faint burn left by the dark magic Jareth wielded. Maelrik's voice broke the silence. You did well today. Elira barely nodded, thoughts swirling. That night sleep refused her. Her dreams were filled with fire, flames licking at her skin, not burning, but awakening something deep inside. A voice whispered through the smoke, you are the flame that will light the darkness. She woke with a start, heart racing. Over the next days, strange things began to happen. Small sparks danced around her fingertips when she was upset. A candle would flicker and flare without wind. Maelrik watched with a mix of awe and concern. The bond, it's growing stronger. You're becoming more than just a bearer. One evening as they trained in the palace courtyard, Elira's anger flared during a sparring match. Suddenly, a burst of fire exploded from her palm, scorching the ground near Maelrik's feet. He stumbled back, eyes wide. Elira, she dropped to her knees, breathing hard. I didn't mean to. He shook his head, smiling. This is good, dangerous, but good. Lysara appeared. Then, her silver eyes gleaming in the fading light. You're awakening the flame, the ancient power tied to the bond. Few have ever mastered it. Elira's gaze hardened. If I'm going to fight this war, I need to control it fully. Maelrik stepped forward, resolve in his voice. And I'll help you. Together, they turned toward the horizon. The war was coming, and Elira was ready to burn brighter than ever before. Chapter 11. Into the shadows beyond. The world outside is darker than the palace, but the fire inside can light the way. The morning sun spilled over the palace walls, but Elira felt a chill she couldn't shake. Today wasn't like the others. Today, she and Maelrik would leave the safety of the palace for the first time. Lysera handed Elira a small, ornate dagger. This belonged to the first bone bearer. It carries a sliver of the flame's power. Elira traced the intricate runes etched into the blade, feeling its warmth pulse through her fingers. We have a mission, Lysera said, to find the lost archives of the bond, hidden in the ruins beyond the Blackwood. Elira's breath caught. The Blackwood was a forest steeped in legend and danger. Maelrik tightened his grip on his sword. We face assassins, monsters, and worse. Are you ready? Elira met his gaze. I have to be. The forest was alive with whispers. Leaves rustled like voices warning them to turn back. But the deeper they went, the stronger the bond's pull became. Elira felt the flame flicker, a beacon guiding her steps. Suddenly a shadow darted between the trees. An arrow whistled past Maelrik's ear. Ambush, he shouted. Elira's heart pounded as they drew their weapons. From the shadows, figures emerged. Cloaked assassins, their eyes cold and merciless. Steel clashed, magic flared. Elira called upon the flame, sending a wave of fire that forced their attackers to retreat. But one assassin stayed behind, his mask slipping to reveal a familiar face. Why won't you? Bond bearer, he hissed. Elira's blood ran cold. He was someone from her past. As the sun set, the ruins lay ahead, a promise of answers and more danger. But Elira knew one thing for sure. She was no longer just surviving. She was fighting to change her fate. Chapter 12. Echoes of the Forgotten. The past never truly dies. It waits, buried beneath the ruins, eager to be found. The ruins rose before them, ancient stones tangled with creeping vines, remnants of a civilization lost to time. Elira's footsteps echoed on cracked marble as she stepped inside, the air thick with dust and secrets. Maelrik scanned the shadows, sword drawn, ready for whatever lay ahead. Inside, faded murals depicted warriors wielding flames, bond-bearers like Elira. Their eyes seemed to follow her, as if warning or welcoming. Elira traced a hand over the cold stone. Suddenly, a faint glow pulsed beneath her palm, the flame responding to the echoes of history. They found a chamber, walls covered in ancient script. Lysera's voice came in. Elira's mind, teaching her to read the runes. The message was clear and chilling. The bond is not just power. It is a prison. The flame is a key, but also a curse. Maelrik frowned. If it's a curse, why fight for it? Elira's eyes narrowed, because the only other choice is darkness. A sudden rumble shook the ruins. Dust fell from the ceiling. Elira grabbed Maelrik's arm. They're not alone. From the shadows, a figure stepped forward. A woman cloaked in tattered robes, eyes glowing like the flame itself. Welcome, bond-bearers, she said, voice echoing like a ghost. I am Ceres, the last guardian of these archives. Elira's heart raced, an ally. Or a trap, Ceres smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. The bond's history is darker than you know, and if you want to control the flame, you'll have to face the truth. Outside, the night deepened, and the war for the bond's power was just beginning. Chapter 13. Trial by Fire. To claim the flame, one must first walk through the fire. Ceres led Elira and Maelrik deeper into the ruins, the glow of her eyes lighting the way through winding corridors. The air grew warmer, pulsing with an ancient energy that made Elira's skin tingle. At last, they reached a cavern, walls flickering with an ethereal fire that burned without smoke. This is the trial chamber, Ceres said. To unlock the full power of the flame, you must face it. And yourself, Elira stepped forward, hard hammering. Ceres gestured to a circle of flames hovering above the ground. Step into the fire. The bond will test your spirit, your fears, and your will. Maelrik reached for her hand. I'm right here. Elira swallowed her fear and stepped into the circle. Ansley, the flames roared to life, surrounding her with warmth and pain. Visions flashed before her eyes, memories she never knew, fears she buried deep. She saw her parents lost in war. She saw herself alone, powerless, abandoned. A voice whispered, "Do you accept your fate? Or will you break the bond and lose everything?" Elira's hands clenched. "I choose to fight." The flames calmed, folding back like a blooming flower. She was breathless but stronger. Stepping out, Elira looked at Maelrik. "I'm ready." Cerys nodded slowly. "The bond has accepted you. But beware, the world will not be so forgiving." Outside the ruins, the night was silent, but Elira's heart burned brighter than ever. The true battle was just beginning. Chapter 14, Whispers on the Wind. When the night speaks, listen closely. Danger follows every secret. The moon hung low over the palace grounds, casting long shadows that twisted like serpents. Elira and Maelrik returned from the ruins, their minds heavy with the weight of the trial. They had changed, but so had the world around them. In the quiet garden, Elira felt a chill crawl down her spine. A whisper drifted on the wind, soft yet sharp. "Beware the shadow within." She glanced at Maelrik, but he seemed unaware. Later, in the council chamber, Lysara's voice was grave. "Jareth's betrayal was just the beginning. Others have risen, hidden enemies who seek to claim the bond's power for themselves." Elira's eyes narrowed. "Do we know who they are?" A sudden gust blew open the windows, scattering parchments across the floor. Among the chaos, a note floated to Elira's feet, ink smeared, words barely legible. "Trust no one. The flame may burn you." Maelrik picked it up, frowning. "This is a warning." Elira clenched her fists. "Then we need to find who sent it before they find us." Outside, the wind carried the whispers away, but the danger was closer than they thought. Chapter 15, The Mask Falls. Sometimes the enemy wears the face of a friend. The palace buzzed with uneasy silence. Everyone seemed to be watching each other, eyes darting like hunted animals. Elira couldn't shake the feeling that the walls themselves whispered secrets. That evening, Maelrik pulled her aside in the dim hallway. "I think I know who sent the note," he said, voice low. Elira's breath caught. "Who?" Maelrik hesitated. "It's Lysara." Elira's eyes widened. "Lysara. But she's been guiding us." Maelrik shook his head. "She's hiding something. I saw her in the archives burning. Documents, ancient texts about the bond's true power." "She lied about what?" "She told us." Elira's heart thundered. Was the woman who helped them a traitor too? She confronted Lysara in the council chamber, voice steady but fierce. "Why did you send the warning? What aren't you telling us?" Lysara's silver eyes flashed, cold and unyielding. "The bond is fragile. I protect it, even if it means sacrifice. You're not ready for the truth." Before Elira could respond, Lysara's form shimmered. In a blink, she vanished, leaving behind only a faint scent of smoke and betrayal. Maelrik grabbed Elira's arm. "We have to move. She'll be coming for the flame." Elira's gaze hardened. "No one will take it from me." Outside, shadows gathered. The war had only just begun. Chapter 16, Secrets Beneath the Ashes. The past burns brightest when you least expect it. Elira and Maelrik raced through the palace corridors, their footsteps echoing in the stillness. Lysara's betrayal weighed heavy, but Elira knew she couldn't waste time dwelling on it. They had to find her, and fast. In a hidden chamber beneath the palace, Elira stumbled upon a cracked ancient chest. Curiosity overpowered caution. Inside lay yellowed scrolls, their edges burned but still legible. One scroll bore a symbol identical to the mark on Elira's palm. Unfurling it, Elira's eyes widened. It told the story of the first bondbearer, her ancestor, a warrior who sealed the original flame, but at a terrible cost. The bond was a legacy passed down through her bloodline. Maelrik leaned close. "This means you were chosen long before you even knew it." Elira's voice was barely a whisper. "But why was it hidden? Why wasn't I told?" As they pieced together the fragments of history, a shadow flickered near the doorway. They spun around. Lysara stepped in, eyes blazing, not with anger, but something colder. "You can't run from your fate, Elira. The flame belongs to those who understand its price." Elira tightened her grip on the scrolls. "I understand more than you think." The chamber trembled as the bond's power stirred once again. The war for the flame was no longer just about power. It was about blood and destiny. Chapter 17, Bloodlines and Burdens. Our past shapes us, but it does not define our future. Elira sat cross-legged on the cold stone floor. The ancient scrolls spread before her like a map of forgotten memories. The faded ink told stories of warriors bound by fire, each bearing the flame as both gift and curse. Her ancestors, heroes and victims intertwined. Maelrik stood guard by the door, his sword gleaming dimly in the flickering torchlight. "Elira," he said softly, "this legacy, it's more than a burden, it's a weapon, and it's ours to wield." Elira traced the symbol on her palm, feeling a pulse ripple through her veins. "My family kept this secret to protect me, but now it's out." Her voice trembled. "What if I can't live up to it?" A sudden gust swept through the chamber, carrying with it a whisper, ancient and haunting. "You are the flame that will burn the darkness." Elira looked up sharply, heart pounding. Was it a message from her ancestors, or a warning? Determined, she folded the scrolls and stood. "No more hiding. If this is my destiny, I will face it head on." Maelrik nodded. "We stand together, whatever comes." Outside, storm clouds gathered, and distant thunder rumbled. The battle for the bond and for Elira's soul was only beginning. Chapter 18: Embers of Mastery. Power is forged through fire, and only the strongest can wield it. The training grounds lay empty beneath the gray sky, the scent of rain hanging heavy in the air. Elira stood at the center, the symbol on her palm glowing faintly as she focused on the flickering flames before her. Maelrik watched silently, his arms crossed, ready to step in if needed. "Control the flame," Elira whispered, summoning her will. The fire danced obediently, swirling around her fingertips like liquid gold. Her breath hitched as she pushed deeper, feeling the searing heat but refusing to pull back. Hours passed. Sweat-dripped muscles burned, but the fire grew steadier, stronger, until Elira was no longer its victim, but its master. Maelrik approached, a rare smile breaking his usually stern expression. "You're ready." Elira glanced up, eyes fierce. "Ready for what?" Before Maelrik could answer, a raven landed on the training ground fence, dropping a sealed scroll at Elira's feet. She picked it up carefully. The seal bore the mark of the elders, the secret council that governed the bond-bearers. Breaking the seal, Elira read aloud, "The time has come. The elders demand your presence. The balance of power teeters on the edge. Your choices will shape the fate of all." Elira's heart raced. The trial was over, but a far greater challenge awaited. Chapter 19: Council of Shadows. Power lies not only in fire, but in the secrets we keep. Elira stood before the grand doors of the Elders' Hall, her palm burning faintly with the bond's energy. Maelrik beside her, the weight of the scroll's message pressing down like a storm cloud. Inside the chamber was dimly lit by ancient braziers, faces of the elders hidden beneath deep hoods. Their voices whispered like wind through leaves, each word heavy with unspoken threats. The head elder's voice cut through the silence. "Elira, bond-bearer. You have passed the trial, yet your path is tangled in shadows." Another elder stepped forward, eyes cold. "Your family's legacy is a double-edged sword. The flame in your blood is both power and a curse waiting to ignite." Elira met their gaze. "I am ready to carry the burden, to fight for the bond." A ripple of murmurs stirred. The elders exchanged looks. Suddenly, a loud crash shattered the room's tension. A figure burst through the side entrance, an old friend turned traitor, clutching a dark shard pulsating with corrupt energy. "I will not let you control the flame," the traitor snarled. Chaos erupted. Flames and shadows clashed as Elira and Maelrik fought side by side, the battle ripping through the heart of the council. As the dust settled, the elders stared at Elira with a mix of fear and respect. "The war has truly begun," the head elder said grimly. Outside, the storm broke, lightning illuminating the path ahead. Elira tightened her grip on the flame. Her fight was far from over. Chapter 20: Allies in the Shadows. In the darkest hours, unexpected hands reach out. The council chamber lay in ruins, smoke curling from shattered braziers and scorched stone. Elira's breath came heavy, her hands still glowing faintly with the remnants of the battle. Maelrik scanned the room, eyes sharp. "The traitor's gone, for now." A soft knock echoed from the hallway. Elira tensed, ready for another attack, but instead a figure stepped forward from the shadows, cloaked, mysterious. "I've been watching," the stranger said. Voice low but steady, "My name is Kaelin. I know the bond." As secrets, and I want to help. Elira studied him warily. Why should we trust you? Kaelin smiled faintly. Because our enemies are not just within these walls. There's a greater darkness rising. Alone, you won't survive. Maelrik exchanged a look with Elira. We need all the help we can get. Kaelin pulled a map from beneath his cloak, marking hidden safe havens and ancient relics. Elira, if you want to master the flame and protect those you love, you'll need to seek these places. There's more to the bond than you've been told. As the storm outside softened to rain, a fragile alliance was formed. The true journey was only beginning. Chapter 21: Uneasy Alliance. Trust is a fragile flame, easily sparked, easily extinguished. The room still smelled of smoke and sweat as Elira studied Kaelin's map. Her fingers hovered over the marked locations, ancient places forgotten by most. Maelrik broke the silence. We don't know anything about this Kaelin. How do we know he isn't leading us into a trap? Kaelin met Maelrik's gaze steadily. Because I have the same enemy, the darkness that threatens you threatens me too. Elira glanced between them, her mind racing. Could she afford to distrust someone who might be their only hope? Later, around the campfire, Kaelin shared stories of his past, a former guardian who was cast out for questioning the elders' ways. I've walked through shadows and survived. You'll need my knowledge if you want to stand a chance. Maelrik remained skeptical, but Elira felt a strange pull, an inkling that Kaelin's arrival was no coincidence. As flames danced in the night, Elira touched the symbol on her palm. The bond pulsed with new strength, but a warning echoed in her mind. Beware those who walk in twilight. Tomorrow the journey to the first relic begins. Chapter 22: The Path to Ashen Hollow. Every step forward is a step into the unknown. The sun had barely risen when Elira, Maelrik, and Kaelin set out from the remnants of the Elders' Hall. The morning mist clung to the trees, turning the dense forest into a labyrinth of shadow and light. Kaelin led the way, his cloak brushing against the undergrowth as he moved with practiced ease. The first relic lies in Ashen Hollow, Kaelin said, voice low. An ancient cavern where the bond's earliest wielders gathered. It's protected not just by time, but by traps and dark magic. Elira adjusted the pack on her back, feeling the weight of the flame's power pulsing beneath her palm. As they pressed deeper, the forest seemed to close in. Birdsong gave way to silence, even the breeze softened. Maelrik's hand rested on his sword's hilt, eyes scanning every shadow. Suddenly, a soft rustle from above, arrows rained down, swift and precise. Kaelin barely had time to shout a warning before they scattered for cover. Elira focused, calling forth a barrier of fire that sizzled in the air, deflecting the arrows harmlessly into the trees. The attackers revealed themselves, a band of rogue mercenaries hired to stop them. Keep moving, Kaelin urged, pulling Elira and Maelrik toward a narrow cave entrance partially hidden by vines. Inside, the air was cool and heavy with the scent of earth and ancient stone. Torchlight revealed faded murals depicting bond-bearers locking flames into crystals, tokens of power meant to protect and preserve. Elira's heart raced. This was no ordinary relic, it was a key. But as they stepped deeper, a low growl echoed. Something stirred in the shadows, waiting. Elira tightened her grip on the flame. This was only the beginning. Chapter 23: The Guardian of Ashen Hollow. Not all who protect the past welcome the future. The cavern walls glistened with ancient crystals, casting fractured light in every direction. Elira's steps echoed softly, the air thick with centuries of forgotten secrets. As they ventured deeper, the growl grew louder, a low, guttural rumble that seemed to shake the very stone beneath their feet. Maelrik tightened his grip on his sword. Kaelin whispered, "The Guardian." From the shadows emerged a massive beast, its eyes glowing like molten gold, fur streaked with ash and flame. Its presence radiated power and sorrow. Elira's heart pounded, but the flame surged within her palm, warming her resolve. "I don't want to fight," she called out, voice steady. The beast growled again, advancing slowly. Kaelin stepped forward, raising his hands in a gesture of peace. This guardian was bound to protect the relic, only the worthy may pass. Elira nodded, understanding. She closed her eyes, reaching inward to the bond. A fiery aura enveloped her, and the creature paused, nostrils flaring as it sensed her power. Then, with a mighty roar, it bowed its head and stepped aside. Relief washed over the group, but Kaelin's eyes darkened. The trials have only just begun. Inside, the relic awaits, but so do dangers beyond imagining. Elira stepped forward, the glow of the flame lighting the path ahead. The true test was still to come. Chapter 24: The Relic's Trial. True power demands sacrifice and wisdom. The chamber beyond the Guardian's lair was vast, its walls carved with intricate symbols glowing faintly in the dark. At its center stood the relic, a crystalline orb pulsing with an inner fire suspended above a stone pedestal. Elira stepped forward, feeling the flame within her respond to the relic's presence. Kaelin cautioned, "This is not just a prize. The relic tests those who seek it." As she reached out, the symbols on the walls flared to life. Suddenly, the floor beneath her shifted, stones sliding apart to reveal deep pits and spinning blades. The chamber transformed into a maze of deadly traps. Maelrik dashed forward, helping Elira leap over gaps and dodge razor-sharp edges. Kaelin deciphered the glowing runes, guiding them through the shifting corridors. At the heart of the maze, a final puzzle awaited, a complex pattern of flames that needed to be ignited in the correct sequence. Elira closed her eyes, feeling the bond's whispers. Slowly, she ignited the flames, one by one, until the entire pattern blazed brilliantly. The traps ceased, the chamber stilled, and the relic floated down into Elira's hands. A surge of warmth flooded through her, a connection to the bond, ancient power. "We have what we came for," Kaelin said quietly. But Elira knew this was just the beginning. Outside, the storm was rising again. The shadows were gathering. Chapter 25: The Price of Power. Every gift carries a cost, sometimes heavier than the burden itself. Elira clutched the relic tightly as they emerged from Ashen Hollow, the storm clouds thickening overhead. The power thrumming inside her palm was intoxicating, stronger than ever before. But with the surge came a sharp pain, like a wildfire blazing beneath her skin. She staggered, breath quickening. Kaelin's eyes darkened. "The bond responds not just to your will, but to your fears and doubts." Maelrik helped steady her. "We need to find a safe place to rest and learn to control it." As they set up camp beneath twisted oaks, Elira's vision blurred. Visions flickered, shadowy figures watching from afar, whispering warnings she couldn't fully hear. In the night, the relic pulsed fiercely. Elira's hands glowed, flames flickering uncontrollably. She gasped, struggling to contain the blaze that threatened to consume her. Maelrik and Kaelin worked together, forming a protective circle, chanting words of old to calm the raging fire. Slowly, the flames dimmed. Elira collapsed, exhausted but alive. Kaelin murmured, "The relic's power is a double-edged sword. Master it, or it will master you." Outside the circle, shadows shifted. Enemies were closer than they realized. Chapter 26: Forging the Flame. Strength is born in fire and shaped by will. The dawn broke cold and gray as Elira rose from the campfire's embers, the relic resting quietly beside her. Her hands still tingled faintly with residual power, but the chaos of the night had passed temporarily. But Kaelin stood nearby, arms crossed, watching with a cautious expression. "It's time you learn to control the bond," he said. Over the next days, the trio trained relentlessly. Kaelin taught Elira to focus her energy, to channel the flame with precision rather than brute force. "Feel the fire, don't fight it," Kaelin advised. "Let it flow through you like a river, not a storm." Maelrik drilled her in defense, teaching how to anticipate attacks and protect the bone-bearer's vulnerabilities. Each lesson pushed Elira harder, her body aching, her spirit tested. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Elira finally held the flame steady, small, steady sparks dancing in her palm. A smile broke across her face, but beneath her triumph, Kaelin's eyes darkened. "The relic is powerful, yes, but others will come for it. And not all battles are fought with fire." Elira nodded, resolve hardening. She was ready to face whatever came next. Chapter 27: Shadows from the Past. Every secret casts its own darkness. The camp was unusually quiet as dawn broke, the mist curling low over the forest floor. Elira packed their gear, her mind lingering on Kaelin's cryptic warning. Kaelin stood apart, eyes scanning the horizon. "There's something I've kept from you," he finally said. Voice heavy with hesitation, Maelrik's hand instinctively moved to his sword. Elira stepped closer. "What is it?" Kaelin's gaze darkened. "I was once part of the Elder's inner circle, a guardian chosen to protect the bond. Secrets He paused, swallowing hard, but I betrayed them. I uncovered truths they wanted buried and paid the price. Elira's heart raced. Why tell us now? Kaelin looked away. Because the enemy we face is tied to that betrayal. They want the bond for themselves, and they know I'm the weak link. Maelrik clenched his jaw. We don't have time for doubts. We need to stay united. Kaelin nodded slowly, agreed. But my past will catch up to us soon. As the sun rose, casting long shadows through the trees, a chill ran down Elira's spine. The battle ahead was not just for power, it was for trust. Chapter 28 Betrayal's Echo. The past is a ghost that never truly fades. Night cloaked their camp as Kaelin's story unfolded beneath the flickering firelight. He spoke quietly, every word weighted with regret. I was once the Elder's most trusted guardian, Kaelin began. Chosen to protect the bond's greatest secret, the origin of the flame itself. Elira leaned in, heart pounding. But as I studied the bond, I discovered a terrible truth. The Elders had corrupted it, twisting its power for control rather than protection. Kaelin's voice cracked. I confronted them. I tried to expose their deceit. The Elders branded him a traitor. They stripped him of his title, cast him out, and sent hunters after him. I escaped, Kaelin said, but the price was exile and constant pursuit. Elira glanced at Maelrik, whose expression was unreadable. Now they've learned I've returned, and that we seek the relics. Kaelin's eyes hardened. They will come for us all. A distant howl shattered the night, cutting through the silence. Elira stood, gripping the relic close. Then we fight, she said, together. Chapter 29 Ambush at Dusk. When shadows hunt, only the sharpest light can save you. The forest was eerily still as the sun dipped low, casting long blood-red shadows across the ground. Elira, Kaelin, and Maelrik moved cautiously, senses heightened. We need to reach the old watchtower before nightfall, Kaelin urged. It offers a vantage point, and maybe a chance to rest. Suddenly, the air shifted. A sharp whistle sliced through the trees. From the darkness, figures emerged, cloaked hunters sent by the Elders, their eyes cold and merciless. Maelrik drew his sword, stepping in front of Elira. Kaelin's fingers sparked with controlled flames. Arrows whizzed past, and the battle erupted. Elira summoned the flame, weaving it into a fiery shield that deflected deadly strikes. Kaelin moved like a shadow, striking with precision, while Maelrik's blade sang through the night air. Despite their skill, the hunters pressed hard, their numbers overwhelming. Elira's arms burned, pushing the flame beyond her limits. With a roar, she unleashed a wave of fire, scattering the attackers. As the last hunter fell, silence returned. Kaelin exhaled sharply. We can't keep running. Elira nodded, determination blazing in her eyes. It's time to fight back. When shadows hunt, only the fiercest light can protect the flame. The forest grew silent, the usual chorus of birds and rustling leaves fading as the sun slipped below the horizon. Elira, Kaelin, and Maelrik pressed onward, shadows lengthening around them. Kaelin's voice was low but urgent. We need to reach the old watchtower before nightfall. It'll give us the high ground, a chance to. See what's coming. Elira's grip tightened on the relic. Her heart hammered in her chest. Something felt wrong. Suddenly a sharp whistle shattered the stillness. From the shadows between the twisted trunks, figures emerged. Cloaked in black, their faces hidden behind masks forged from bone and iron. The Elders' hunters. Maelrik stepped forward instantly, sword drawn, muscles coiled like a predator. They found us. Kaelin's fingers ignited with blue flame, the glow casting eerie shadows across his sharp features. Hold your ground. Arrows rained down. Elira barely raised her hands in time, conjuring a shimmering barrier of flame that crackled and hissed as the arrows shattered against it. The battle erupted in a storm of steel and fire. Maelrik's sword flashed, cutting through the first wave of attackers with deadly precision. Kaelin darted through the chaos, flames lashing out like whips, singeing flesh and armor. Elira felt the heat of the flame surge through her veins, the relic pulsing in sync with her heartbeat. She focused, channeling a blast of fire that sent several hunters sprawling, their cloaks catching flame and burning away. But the hunters kept coming, relentless, ruthless. Exhaustion gnawed at Elira's limbs. Her arms trembled as she pushed the flame beyond its normal limits. The forest around them flickered in orange and gold, leaves and twigs catching fire. With a roar, Elira unleashed a sweeping wave of fire, forcing the attackers to retreat into the darkness. Silence fell again, broken only by heavy breaths and the crackle of dying embers. Kaelin sheathed his blade, eyes scanning the trees. This was only a warning. Maelrik wiped sweat and blood from his brow. They're not just after the relic, they want us, all of us. Elira looked at her companions, her resolve hardening like forged steel. Then it's time we stop running. Chapter 30. The Stranger in the Shadows. In the darkest moments, an unexpected light can change everything. The camp was tense, the air thick with the scent of smoke and anticipation. Elira sat by the dying fire, muscles still aching from the fight, eyes fixed on the relic pulsing softly beside her. Kaelin and Maelrik spoke in hushed tones nearby, plotting their next move. "We need allies," Kaelin said grimly. "The Elder's hunters will only grow stronger." Suddenly, a rustle came from the tree line. Everyone tensed, weapons ready. A figure stepped into the firelight, a tall woman cloaked in midnight blue, her eyes sharp and unreadable. "I've been watching," she said calmly. "You're not alone in this fight." Elira studied her carefully. "Who are you?" The woman smiled faintly. "Call me Lirael. I once served the elders too, until I chose a different path." Kaelin's jaw tightened. "Why should we trust you?" Lirael's gaze hardened. "Because the elders are not the only threat. There's a deeper darkness rising, one that wants to consume everything." A silence fell over the camp. Elira felt a flicker of hope and the weight of new uncertainty. "We don't have much time," Lirael said. "If you're willing to fight, follow me. I know a place where we can prepare and where your powers can grow." Elira nodded, determination burning brighter than ever. "Then we don't wait." Chapter 31. Sanctuary of the Lost. Even the fiercest flame needs a safe place to grow. The moon hung low as Elira, Kaelin, Maelrik, and Lirael moved through a narrow, winding path hidden beneath thick vines and ancient trees. Lirael led them with confidence, every step purposeful. "This place," she said softly, "is the Sanctuary of the Lost, a refuge for those who escaped the Elder's control." Elira's eyes widened as the trees gave way to a hidden valley bathed in ethereal light. Strange, glowing plants lined the ground, and crystal-clear streams whispered secrets as they flowed in the distance. Figures trained, some wielding magic, others weapons, all united in quiet purpose. Kaelin looked around, a mix of hope and caution in his eyes. "Why haven't the elders destroyed this place?" Lirael smiled sadly. "It's hidden by ancient wards, protected by those who refuse to bow. But its strength depends on new blood, like yours." Elira felt the relic pulse warmly at her side, a sign that she belonged here. The days that followed were grueling. Under Lirael's watchful eye, Elira pushed her flame further than ever, learning to shape it into blades, shields, and even healing warmth. Kaelin and Maelrik trained alongside her, their skills sharpening with each challenge. For the first time in weeks, Elira felt a glimmer of hope, a chance to turn the tide. But deep in the shadows beyond the sanctuary, something stirred, an ancient force, awakened by the bond's power and hungry for chaos. Chapter 32. Whispers of the Abyss. Some darkness waits patiently, biding its time. Deep beneath the roots of the ancient forest, in a cavern untouched by light, a cold wind stirred. Shadows wreathed and twisted, coalescing into a form both terrifying and magnificent. The ancient force, the abyssal warden, had awakened. Its eyes, black holes of endless hunger, scanned the surface world above. A voice echoed in the void, cold, mocking. "The bond's flame grows stronger, but it will feed my darkness soon." Back in the sanctuary, Elira shivered despite the warmth of her training fire. She had felt it, a creeping chill that no flame could chase away. Lirael approached her, voice grave. "The abyssal warden was sealed away centuries ago. If it rises fully, it could consume the entire realm." Kaelin clenched his fists. "We thought the elders were the only enemy. We were wrong." Elira's eyes burned with determination. "We won't let that happen." But the warden's whispers spread through the forest like poison, reaching ears both friend and foe. The battle for the flame was only beginning. Chapter 33. First strike. Darkness sends its shadows before it. Dawn broke over the sanctuary, but the calm was shattered by urgent alarms. Elira and the others rushed outside to see figures moving through the trees, twisted creatures, pale and gaunt, their eyes glowing with an unnatural light. "These are the warden's minions," Lirael said grimly. "Corrupted souls bound to its will." The creatures advanced relentlessly, claws tearing at the earth. Hunger in their snarls. Elira raised her hands, flames dancing around her fingers. The battle erupted once more, fire against shadow. Halen and Maelrik fought fiercely beside her, but the minions kept coming, unending in their assault. Elira summoned a blazing spear, hurling it into the midst of the horde. The flames consumed several creatures, but more surged forward, forcing the defenders back toward the sanctuary walls. "We can't hold them forever," Maelrik shouted. Lirael's eyes narrowed. "We must find the warden's source and destroy it." Elira nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility settle heavier than ever. The true fight had begun. Chapter 34. Into the Heart of Darkness. To defeat a shadow, you must step into the void. The morning. Mist clung to the sanctuary's edge as Elira, Kaelin, Maelrik, and Lyric and Lyra Peregrine to leave. Their mission was clear: find the Abyssal Warden, lair and end its corruption before it spread further. Elira Vale handed Elira a small pendant, glowing faintly with protective runes. "This will shield you from the Warden's influence, but only for so long." Elira nodded, slipping it around her neck. The forest beyond twisted unnaturally as they ventured deeper into darkness. Trees bent like claws, and the air grew thick with a choking fog. Kaelin's flame flickered uncertainly, shadows dancing at the edges of their vision. Maelrik's grip tightened on his sword, muscles tense. Suddenly, a whisper echoed through the trees, a voice both seductive and cruel. "Elira, come to me." She shook her head, struggling to block it out. "We have to keep moving," she urged. They pressed on, every step a battle against the creeping corruption. Finally, the forest opened into a vast cavern, its walls pulsing with dark energy. The Abyssal Warden awaited, a towering shadow, wreathed figure, eyes glowing like dying stars. The final confrontation had begun. Chapter 35. The battle begins. When light meets shadow, the world trembles. The cavern air was thick with darkness, oppressive and alive. Elira's heart pounded as she faced the towering Abyssal Warden. Its form shifted constantly, a swirling mass of shadow tendrils reaching out like grasping hands. Kaelin ignited his flames, the blue fire crackling fiercely, while Maelrik gripped his sword, eyes sharp and ready. Lirael stepped forward, chanting ancient words that sent ripples of light through the cavern. The Warden's voice thundered deep and echoing. "You dare challenge me, flame bearers? Your light is but a flicker before the abyss." Elira raised her hands, summoning the full power of the relic. A brilliant blaze erupted, illuminating the cavern in searing gold. The Warden lashed out, tendrils slashing through the air, but Elira twisted away, fire shielding her. Kaelin unleashed a torrent of flame, striking the Warden's shadowy limbs. Maelrik charged, his sword cutting through darkness, but the Warden absorbed the attacks, growing stronger. The cavern trembled, cracks forming in the stone beneath their feet. Elira's vision blurred, the pendant around her neck glowed fiercely, protecting her from the Warden's corrupting influence. "We need to break its core," Lirael shouted. Elira focused, shaping the flame into a spear of pure energy, and drove it toward the heart of the shadow. With a deafening roar, light and darkness collided. The cavern shook violently as the fate of the realm hung in the balance. Chapter 36. After the storm. Victory has a price, and peace is never certain. The cavern was silent, save for the faint crackling of dying flames. Elira stood, trembling, the spear of light dissolving in her hands. The Abyssal Warden was gone, its shadowy form reduced to nothingness. Kaelin and Maelrik approached, exhausted but alive. Lirael's eyes were distant, as if searching beyond the present moment. "We did it," Elira whispered, relief washing over her. But beneath the victory, a chill lingered. Lirael finally spoke, voice heavy. "The Warden is defeated, but its darkness has seeped into the land. The real battle begins now." Suddenly, the pendant around Elira's neck pulsed violently. Images flooded her mind. Visions of distant places, people in danger, a spreading corruption. Kaelin grabbed her arm. "What is it?" Elira shook her head, determination hardening. "This isn't over. The flame is needed more than ever." Outside the cavern, the forest that had begun to heal now showed signs of new blight. The fight for the realm's future was far from finished. Chapter 37. Call to Arms. When darkness spreads, unity is the strongest light. The sanctuary buzzed with urgency. Elira stood atop a stone platform, eyes scanning the gathered crowd. warriors, mages, and survivors from every corner of the realm. "We've won a battle, not the war," she called out, voice steady but fierce. "The Abyssal Warden is gone, but its corruption remains. If we don't act now, everything we love will be lost." Whispers spread through the crowd, but determination grew stronger. Kaelin stepped forward, his flames burning bright. "We must unite the scattered clans and kingdoms. Only together can we fight what's coming." Elira nodded, unfurling a map etched with ancient runes, a place the Heartwood, citadel where the corruption originates. "If we can reach it, we might stop the spread." Maelrik clenched his sword. "We'll need every hand willing to fight." Elira's gaze hardened. "This is a call to arms. We either stand together or fall divided." The crowd erupted in cheers. Hope flickered anew. But in the shadows beyond the sanctuary's walls, unseen eyes watched and waited. Chapter 38. Beneath the mask. Not all allies wear their true faces. The sanctuary bustled with preparation. Elira trained harder than ever, pushing her flame to new limits, while Kaelin and Maelrik coordinated defenses. But beneath the surface, tension simmered. Whispers of doubt and mistrust twisted through the ranks. One night, as the camp slept, Elira spotted a shadow slipping between tents. She followed silently, heart pounding. The figure moved with practiced stealth, a cloaked figure carrying a sealed scroll. Elira's eyes narrowed as the figure paused by the outer gate, speaking softly into the night. Report sent the flame's strength grows. "But so will our victory." Elira's breath caught a spy. She retreated silently, mind racing. If enemies lurk this close, their plans could crumble before they even began. The battle wasn't just against darkness outside, but betrayal within. Chapter 39. Web of Deceit. Trust is fragile and betrayal cuts deepest. Elira gathered Kaelin, Liravel, and Maelrik in the dim light of the war room. "We have a spy in our midst," she said, voice low but firm. Liravel traced a finger over the map. "The message was sent to the corrupted lands. They know we're coming." Kaelin slammed his fist on the table. "We need to find who it is before they sabotage everything." They began quietly questioning the camp, searching for odd behaviors, whispered conversations, strange disappearances. Elira's gaze lingered on a familiar face. A trusted warrior who had grown distant lately. Her gut twisted. That night she followed the warrior and overheard a secret meeting. The warrior spoke of alliances with shadowy figures beyond the forest. Betrayal cut like a blade. Elira confronted the warrior at dawn. "You've endangered us all," she said, eyes blazing. The warrior's mask slipped, revealing conflicted fear. "I did what I thought was necessary for my family." Elira's heart clenched. "But the fight was clear. There's no room for betrayal. We move forward together or not at all." Chapter 40. Shattered bonds. Sometimes, sacrifice is the price of survival. The camp awoke to whispers and wary glances. The traitor was confined, but the damage ran deeper than any wound. Elira stood before the gathered warriors. "Our strength is tested not only by our enemies but by those we trust." Kaelin's flames flickered softly beside her. "We must rebuild what was broken, or the darkness will consume us all." The traitor's confession revealed hidden fractures, old grudges, fears, and secrets threatening to unravel their fragile alliance. Elira walked among her people, speaking to those shaken by doubt. "We fight not just for ourselves, but for everything we hold dear." Slowly, the fractured bonds began to mend, but the shadow of betrayal lingered, a reminder that victory demanded more than strength. As night fell, the camp prepared to march. Elira's eyes burned with determination. The journey to the Heartwood Citadel would test them all, in ways they could never imagine. Chapter 41. March to the Heartwood. Every step draws us closer to fate. The morning air was crisp, filled with the scent of pine and resolve. The allied forces assembled at the sanctuary gates, banners fluttering against the pale sky. Elira stood at the forefront, the pendants glow faint beneath her cloak. Beside her, Kaelin's blue flames danced softly, while Maelrik's sword gleamed in the dawn. As they began the march, the forest seemed to hold its breath, shadows lurking just beyond the trees. Conversations stirred among the troops, tales of old battles and hopes for a new dawn. Elira's and Endithous mind drifted to the journey ahead, the dangers, the sacrifices. She tightened her grip on the pendant. "We march not just for survival," she whispered, "but for the future we believe in." The path wound deeper into corrupted lands, where the air grew heavy and whispers of darkness clawed at their courage. Yet, with every step, the light within their hearts burned brighter, a beacon against the encroaching shadow. The real battle was just beginning. Chapter 42: Ambush in the Shadows. When vigilance falters, danger strikes. The march had been steady but tense. The forest grew darker, the corrupted roots twisting like veins beneath their feet. Suddenly a sharp cry. Out of the shadows twisted creatures erupted, their eyes glowing with malevolent hunger. Chaos exploded. Kaelin's flames roared to life, carving paths through the swarm. Maelrik swung his sword with precision, defending the rear. Elira felt the pendant pulse, the protective runes flaring bright. She unleashed a wave of radiant fire, pushing back the creatures. But the attackers kept coming, faster, more relentless. Lyrilael chants echoed, weaving shields of light that shimmered like glass. Amid the fray, Elira spotted a figure moving oddly, too calm, too precise. Her heart sank. The spy's influence was deeper than she feared. As the battle raged, trust shattered anew. Chapter 43: The True Enemy Revealed. Not all darkness comes from without. As the dust settled, Elira's eyes locked onto the figure she had seen in the chaos. It was Saren, the quiet scout who had traveled with them since the beginning. His eyes glowed faintly, shadows swirling beneath his skin. He smiled, a cruel twist. "I am no longer yours," he said, voice cold and hollow. "The corruption claimed me long ago." Kaelin stepped forward, flames licking his fingertips. "We trusted you." Saren laughed, the sound hollow. "You trust too easily." The real enemy isn't just the darkness outside, it's the darkness within. Lyrilael raised her staff, summoning light, but Saren vanished into the shadows, leaving only a chilling whisper behind. Elira clenched her fists. The battle is far from over. The enemy was no longer just a force of shadow, it was a betrayal that cut to the core. Chapter 44: The Chase Begins. Every step counts when shadows pursue. The forest grew eerily silent after Saren's disappearance. Elira's heart pounded, not just from the battle but from the weight of betrayal. "We can't let him slip away," she urged. Kaelin nodded, flames flickering fiercely. The group set off in pursuit, following faint traces of corrupted energy left by Saren. Branches snapped underfoot as they plunged deeper into the heart of the blighted forest. Lyrilael muttered spells to reveal hidden trails, her voice steady despite the tension. Suddenly, a chilling howl echoed through the trees. Crater twisted by darkness surged forward, blocking their path. Maelrik drew his sword, eyes sharp. "We're not leaving without answers." Elira gritted her teeth, gripping her pendant tightly. "This ends soon, one way or another." The chase was on. Chapter 45: Secrets in the Shadows. Truths buried deep can either save or destroy. The group pushed through the tangled forest, each step heavier than the last. Elira's pendant pulsed, guiding them toward an ancient clearing, a place whispered about in forgotten legends. Kaelin's flames dimmed as they stepped into the clearing, the air thick with silence. There, Lyrilael pointed to a moss-covered stone altar, etched with glowing runes. Suddenly the ground trembled, and a ghostly figure emerged, the spirit of an ancient guardian bound to the heartwood. "You seek answers," the spirit intoned, voice like the rustling leaves. "But beware, the corruption is more than a curse. It is a war waged on souls." Elira stepped forward. "How do we stop it?" The guardian's eyes gleamed. "By facing the darkness within yourselves. Only then can you sever the root of corruption." As the spirit faded, Elira realized the true battle was not just against the external darkness, but the shadows lurking inside them all. Chapter 46: Shadows Within. The fiercest battles are fought inside. That night the camp was restless. Elira sat by the fire, the guardian's words echoing in her mind. Each member of the group wrestled with their own fears and doubts. Kaelin paced, struggling to control the flames that sometimes flickered wildly, reflecting his anger. Lyrilael whispered prayers, seeking peace from memories that haunted her dreams. Maelrik stared into the darkness, haunted by past mistakes that threatened to consume his resolve. Elira closed her eyes, feeling the pendant's warmth and the heavy weight of responsibility. "To defeat the darkness without, we must first conquer the darkness within," she murmured. One by one, they shared their fears, their regrets. A fragile trust began to rebuild, not just in each other, but in themselves. The battle ahead would test not only their strength but their very souls. Chapter 47 Siege of Shadows. When the night falls, no one is safe. The fragile calm shattered as the first arrows hissed through the night. Dark figures emerged from the trees, their eyes glowing with sinister intent. Elira shouted, orders rallying the weary warriors. Kaelin's flames burst to life, forming a blazing shield around the camp. Luriel chanted fiercely, weaving protective wards that shimmered like glass. Maelrik led the front line, his sword cutting through the advancing shadows, but the attackers came in waves, relentless and desperate. Amid the chaos, Elira caught sight of Saren, commanding the assault with cold precision. This ends now, she vowed, gripping her pendant as flames surged within her. The battle for their survival had become a war for their very souls. Chapter 48 Clash of Fates. Some battles decide more than lives, they decide destiny. Elira surged forward through the chaos, eyes locked on Saren, his shadowy form moved like smoke, elusive yet lethal. You betrayed us all, she shouted, flames crackling around her hands. Zarin sneered, eyes glowing dark. Betrayal. I freed myself from your knave cause they collided, fire meeting shadow. Elira's magic flared, but Saren twisted through the darkness, striking with ruthless precision around them. The battle raged, shields shattering, warriors falling. Elira's mind raced how to break through Saren's defenses without losing herself to the shadows. With a sudden surge, she called upon the pendant's light, focusing her power into a brilliant pulse. Saren recoiled, the darkness unraveling around him. This ends here, Elira said, voice steady for all of us. The war for the Heartwood soul hung in the balance. Chapter 49 After the Storm. Victory's price is never what you expect. The battlefield fell silent. Saren lay motionless, the shadows around him dissipating like smoke in the wind. Elira dropped to her knees, breath ragged, the pendant dimming in her palm. Around her, the surviving warriors gathered, faces marked with exhaustion and relief. Kaelin helped her stand, his flames now calm, a soft warmth in the chill. But the cost was clear, many were lost in the forest. In the forest, corruption still lingered in the air. Laeral L stepped forward, eyes full of sorrow and determination. The battle may be won, but the war is not over. Elira nodded, resolve hardening. We must heal the Heartwood, and ourselves as dawn broke. The survivors began the slow task of rebuilding, each carrying scars, visible and unseen. The true journey was only beginning. Chapter 50 A New Dawn. From the ashes, hope blooms. The first rays of sunlight filtered through the healed canopy, painting the Heartwood in golden hues. Elira stood atop the hill, pendant glowing softly, a symbol of their hard-won peace. The forest whispered promises of renewal, the corruption retreating like a bad memory. Around her, the survivors smiled, wounded but unbroken. Kaelin's flames danced warmly, Luriel's chants brought comfort, and Maelrik's steady gaze promised protection. We face the darkness within and without, Elira said, voice steady. Now we build a future worth fighting for. Together they began planting new seeds both in the earth and in their hearts. The Heartwood was alive again, and so were they. End of the novel.